We wouldn't make it tonight.
Yes, and Brandon, in our absence, so we do not have Brandon or Coach Neal on this one. For Met 13.
Thank you. Moving on to the call for any additions, deletions of the May agenda. And we're gonna move on to the approval of the April meeting minutes. The additions, corrections. Making a motion to approve the April meeting minutes.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. So moving on to City of Columbus staff reports, it's a little wet and rainy out, so I'm gonna give some of these people the additional time to speak if they do show up late. I do know Rob Dorsman is not gonna be here. Do not see Officer Cody. Jocelyn Martinez Cortez said that she wasn't gonna be here. So moving on to Kevin Orr from the Department of Neighborhoods speaking on behalf of Vision Health.
Hi, everybody. Again, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Kevin Orr. I'm the pastor of Glenwood United Methodist Church and also serve as a co-convener of the Envision Hilltop Implementation Task Force. Last April 23rd, I understand we had a community event, and Nick shared with me that we had really good attendance. Around 100 or so showed up at the Mid-Ohio Farm for that event. Allowed for some great engagement with folks, particularly those who live in the plant area. So I wanted to celebrate that, which is great. For those of you that are watching or who are present, who don't know what the Envision Hilltop Plan is, it's a community plan that was formed in 2020 is when it was released. We've been in a process of implementing that plan. To find out more information about it, stay up to date on things that are happening, to find ways to get connected, just go to envisionhilltop.com and you can read the plan. There's also a report there. Where are we now? Sort of a capturing of how things have developed over the past few years since that plan initially was released. So I'd encourage you all to take a look at that.
Awesome, thank you so much. And then if any commissioners want to look at a physical copy, I have one at my house. If anybody wants to flip through it, so just let me know and I'll start bringing it around to committee meetings. Moving on to announcements. Do we have any announcements from commissioners? Yes, Dan or Commissioner Smith.
Thank you, Chair. I have just a few. So first off, I want to give a shout out to Commissioner Amin. I was at the Somali town hall and just for a little bit, but she was helping translate for that event. That was real cool seeing you in action. I did want to announce the Hilltop Arts Collective is hosting a dedication for the mural project. A lot of you have probably driven under the bridge on West Broad Street to see the Welcome to the Hilltop and Neighborhoods. They're going to be the Hilltop Arts Collective is going to be hosting a dedication for that tomorrow, 6:30 to 8. That'll be at the former Lookout Supply, which is 3440 West Broad Street. They'll have Casa Carmelitas for dinner and One Eye Mama as the DJ. And shout out to Lexi Holiday and HAC on all their great work on the mural project. It looks amazing. And then lastly, I brought some goodies here. The city auditor's office, which I work for, published the city's annual audited financials within about 90 days. Typically, we're the first city to do so. Sometimes Sioux Falls, South Dakota beats us, but yeah, we made this report specifically for residents to understand our finances a little better. We've been making this the last couple of years. And I'll pass that out to each commissioners. Dan, if you wouldn't mind putting some extra on the table for folks to take as they leave. It's actually a more condensed version of this 300-page report that only CPAs can really understand and accountants. We actually used to give these out to all the chairs of area commissions, but it's very complex in nature. But luckily, we do have an accountant as our chair, so I'll just go ahead and pass that down to him. Because he will understand that a little better. But yeah, and you can also find that online on columbus.gov on the auditor's webpage. So that's all I have. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. All right, Commissioner Ardro.
This is Okay, thank you. I am gonna go through a number of announcements, community announcements. The first is coming up on the 13th and again on June 10th from 3 to 7. Here at the library is the Franklin County Board of Commissioners Tap In Center. And this is an opportunity for people with low-level misdemeanors to avoid having to take their cases to court. They can come through and get legal help here at the Tap-In Center at the library. 5/13, 6/10 are the two dates coming up from 3 to 7. Also, many of you have probably received notice and been participating or converted in the Columbus Enhanced Metering Project and gotten notice that the quarterly billing cycle is going to change to monthly. And that coupled with AEP reports have increased yet again, electric generation costs that are planned to be starting to be reflected in charges coming up this summer. So I just wanted to shout out two utility discount programs for anyone who may be interested or want to share with their neighbors or family or friends. The Columbus Utility Discount Program, I just searched AEP discount program and was able to find it, but it's a kind of a long URL, but columbus.gov/services, and you should be able to navigate there through housing assistance. And then also Ohio Utility Assistance through development.ohio.gov, Ohio Utility Assistance. And there is, documentation that's required, but you can get percentages knocked off for meeting certain requirements. Also, for anybody who has kindergartners who are preparing to go to kindergarten this year on the 10th from 9 to noon at the Kindergarten Readiness Prep Academy is being held at the Action for Children Center, 78 Jefferson Ave. It's a simulated day in kindergarten. It's a parent-child event that's designed to help you and your child prepare for a successful start. And there's a number of activities like circle time, arts and crafts, and a focus on transitions. That does require registration, but it is free. You can find information through cap4kids.com. There's also on the 31st of this month from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Celebrate One's Community Baby Shower. This is a great opportunity to learn about how to care for your newborns or upcoming newborns. This one is held at the Linden Community Center, 1350 Briarwood. It includes an infant safety zone, family empowerment room, and various resources. Okay, I also want to plug rentful614.com. That's a rental assistance hub for tenants and landlords. It's a hub for information on Central Ohio programs to help you stay in your home. And then there is two final things here. The Highland Youth Garden has summer events coming up. The garden markets continue on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 3 to 4:30 and Saturdays from 10 to 11 a.m. The Spring Festival is coming up on Thursday, May 15th from 3:30 to 6:30. I've gone to that event before. It's very fun. It includes cooking demonstrations, live music, and garden-themed activities and more. And you can tour the High Tunnel and their indoor gardens. It's really neat. And then summer camp still has openings for June and July, age 6 through 13, Monday through Friday, food provided. You can find information about both of those at highlandyouthgarden.org/programming. And then finally, coming up in 2 days on Thursday here at the library at 7 is the next Highland West Community Conversation Forum. It's the Community Safety Summit discussion with neighbors and city and agency representatives about how to create a sustainable, safe neighborhood. So thanks to our Highland West partners for putting on that, as well as all of our partners for putting on such great programming year round. That's it for me.
Thank you. Any other commissioner announcements? Nick, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. If people are unaware, next weekend at Westgate Rec Center on the 16th, 17th, and 18th, the theater program that they have, they'll be putting on Shrek Junior. I believe it is. It starts at 7 p.m. And I might be a little biased, but I would say that it's gonna be the best Pinocchio in any Shrek performance ever seen.
How much get tickets to that?
You can buy them at the door.
Thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner Kepler.
This Saturday from 9 to 12 is the Westgate Lodge Community Breakfast. It's $8 for adults and $4 for kids. It's a great deal and it's a great way to come hang out with your neighbors. So,
Support special.
yes, and it supports Special Olympics.
Any other commissioner announcements? Seeing none, just gonna jump back up a little bit. OBC, are you ready?
Sure.
Awesome. So calling up the Department of Neighborhoods, OBC Eddie, West Side Neighborhood MZs.
Good evening, commissioners. My apologies for my tardiness today. I only have a few announcements for today. One, just a reminder of the upcoming training. This will be on social media and also the website, which is going to be converted or from WordPress to Wix. And this training is going to be hosted by the Neighborhood Design Center at the Department of Neighborhoods on Thursday, May 29th. There is going to be a limit of two people per commission, but we do ask that you send at least one representative from each commission, just to be able to get ahead of the changes that are going to be happening this summer with that conversion to the new platform. Also wanted to let you guys know of the upcoming event that's going to be hosted by Parks and Rec for their 10-year vision plan for Playbook Columbus. They're going to be hosting meetings across the city just to share about their plan goals, creating strategies, being able to prioritize improvements, and just the opportunity to share your ideas with some of the Parks and Rec staff. So they will be at Westgate on May 21st at 5:30 p.m. And I will send out a flyer with more information, including the other locations, if for whatever reason you can't make that particular date. And those are the primary updates that I have. I did want to share that I think it's called the Cleaner Columbus Corridor Initiative by the mayor's office just wrapped up. It was a 2-week initiative just to do a blitz starting from Central and Sullivan and going all the way to Hague Avenue, where multiple departments collaborated just to help improve that corridor, give it a bit of a, how should I say, not a facelift, but just a refresh, yes, a spring refresh. And we're hoping to engage partners in the coming weeks, just to be able to continue that work, just to continue to connect with the few businesses that are along that corridor and also residents, just to continue with improving the look and hopefully safety of that corridor as well.
Do you know when the statistics are gonna be out from the Blitz? You know, when they did the person one, they listed off a rap sheet of like all the stuff they did.
Yeah, that list is available now, and I'm more than happy to share it. Yeah,
Thank you.
I'll forward it to all of the commissioners. Or actually, you know what? Let me share that in the next bullet, whenever that is.
Awesome. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, Commissioner Montana?
A question about the training that's on the 29th. What time and will it be recorded if we can't be there?
As far as I know, it will not be recorded. It's gonna be in person at the Department of Neighborhoods at 1410 Cleveland Avenue.
What time?
Oh, I'm sorry, 6 o'clock. 6 to 8 p.m.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So moving right along to presentations, we have Amy Peterson from Hilltop Ride.
Thanks, everybody. Before I start, the table there, I was running a little late. We have trifolds about Hilltop Rides. If you're not familiar, want to learn more, and we also have our 2024 impact report out there. Trifold explains kind of what we do in regular time. Impact report is what we did in 2024. Good, next slide. So I'm gonna try to breeze through this. I know many of you have seen this presentation before. I do also know that we've got some new-ish commissioners, so I'm gonna try to thread the needle between going quickly, but also making sure everybody's kind of caught up to speed. I'm also gonna do my best to get through the entire presentation without question, before asking questions. I just think that'll be more efficient, but if you are totally lost as I'm going, by all means, raise your hand. I'll try to get you caught up. But so for the reference, the bank block, we're talking about this is the block of properties on the north side of Broad between Wayne and Oakley. So on the left, you can see there's a bank building, and that's at the corner of Wayne and Broad. So we're talking about the potential redevelopment for this block. I'm not going to go through all this, but this just gives some background. The short answer version is in 2019, a couple investors bought the property, bought the bank, what we're calling the bank block. They ran into some financial issues. They were not able to make the numbers work. So then it sat. And so then in January 2024, that is when Hilltop Rise signed a letter of intent with the prior property owners to purchase the block. We also signed an MOU, memorandum of understanding, with Columbus Next Gen about the purchase redevelopment. And our role in that is a community liaison. And then jump ahead to, oh, sorry, can you go back? In September, October, that is when Next Gen actually closed on the property. And then for those of you who remember my predecessor, Morgan DeBoth, or now Morgan Jones, bless you. She had left the organization, and so my board chair, Betty James, went out and conducted a lot of community research or input to understand kind of what is and off the table for the bank block redevelopment. And then finally, as you can see at the bottom, what I've been going around recently and what I'm here today is to kind of formally announce that we have been working with National Church Residences, which I'll refer to as NCR going forward, as the expected project developer for this. So Hilltop Rise, NCR, and Columbus Next Gen have been working through the MOU process. Okay, so what would this look like? There are two main takeaways from the community feedback sessions in the fall. One is that folks in the community really wanted the bank building to be preserved if at all possible. And the second is that people really want to see a mixed use project. I'm happy to report that both of those have been honored. So what we're looking at here is on the residential side, mixed income independent senior housing, and that's what NCR focuses on. That's what that's their strength. And then the commercial side, we're talking about affordable street level commercial space. Now, there's a lot to unpack with both of those. There's a couple slides later that we'll delve a little more into the commercial side, but a couple of call outs. First of all, there's a graphic later on that will show kind of like give a poor man's representation of kind of what this will look like, not in terms of overall design, but at least like the layout of how much space we're talking about. Specifically on the commercial side, the first floor will not be entirely commercial, and I'll get into why that is a little bit later, but I just want to call that out. I did not lead into that with in some prior presentations, and I think that led to some confusion. So the commercial space will be a portion of the first floor. Then all the residential will again be mixed income independent senior housing. That mixed income, not really sure. We don't have the exact numbers yet. So NCR is currently in the process of doing their fundraising. And so that fundraising, kind of how that works, will determine what portion of the units will be income qualified versus, and then the rest will be market rate. So I anticipate the majority of those units will be market rate. Okay, go on. So why senior housing? This was specifically brought up in those fall community sessions as something that community members felt would be a good outcome. We also know that there's a severe shortage of housing generally, but that is especially acute for seniors. And that was feedback that we've gotten from a number of experts. The 65 plus population in Central Ohio is expected to double in the next 30 years. That's through a combination of population growth, people living longer, and then demographic shifts with the baby boomers who are already kind of in the senior age, but as they move further into that. Of all age groups, increases in housing costs have disproportionately affected seniors in terms of what groups are paying more than 30% or even sometimes more than 50% of their income on housing. And then quality senior housing allows those who are no longer able to stay in their two-story homes, sometimes with bathrooms upstairs, to still stay in their community and have access to their social groups. And then finally, this project will have some proximity to the bus rapid transit line that's coming on West Broad Street. Now, this will be independent senior living, so we're not talking about assisted living. People can have access to their cars. There will be parking on site, as we'll get to in a little bit. But I know that I don't want to have to get in my car for every single trip. So for some folks who live there, having access to transit might be a welcome addition. And then NCR, why them? So they have a strong record, they have a very strong reputation of building and maintaining high quality affordable senior housing. I want to really highlight those two words, building and maintaining. I guess that's three words. We probably all seen in Columbus where an apartment complex or something will get built and it's bright and shiny. And the owners that they don't put any money into that because they know they're gonna sell it in a couple of years down the line. What really attractive to us about working with NCR is when they build something, they stay engaged for the long term. So if you look at their properties, especially ones that are older properties, they're still in good shape because they take care of them. And that was really important to us as we went through this project. They're also based in Columbus. So even though they have properties all over the nation, which we'll see in the next slide, they've got a really strong reputation as being an excellent community partner and asset in the community. As I said, their headquarters are here. They are the nation's largest nonprofit provider of senior housing. What also is really attractive to us is they've been doing this for almost 65 years, and they operate in 27 states. As some of you know, Hilltop Rise is a relatively young organization. And so for us to partner with somebody who has a really strong track record and has a lot of experience, not only of building housing, but building quality of housing, that was really important to bring on somebody who we knew the community would lend some credibility to a project like this. So there are 6 properties throughout what we'll call the Greater West Side that NCR has done. We're going to look at 3 of them just very briefly. One is the Hilltop Senior Village, and this is if you're familiar with Wilson Road Park off Wilson Road, just west of Westgate. That one's been there for a little while. Okay, the next one. Gates Junction is in Franklinton. This is near the intersection of West Broad and Glenwood. I believe this one opened up in late 2022, so it's now a couple years old. And then last but not least, Clover Glen is one of their newer properties. This one just opened in February. This is out by Galloway Ridge just off West Broad Street. And a couple of our board members got to go to the open house and they were blown away by just the amenities and the thoughtfulness that went into their design. Okay, so I know can you go back to that corny quote? So I know it's a little silly to say this is an ongoing conversation. The reason I put that here is we don't have a design to share today because we're not at that point yet. We're still pretty early in the process. I mentioned that NCR is going to be go out and doing fundraising. They won't start with a design phase until they've met certain fundraising and financial benchmarks. As you can imagine, it would be potentially a huge, they could be potentially wasting a lot of time and money and resources by working on design before they know that the project is going to happen. So when I say this is an ongoing conversation, I was here in, I think, January to give some high level updates. Betty, my board chair, was here in the fall, like I mentioned. For the next round of updates, I'm going to come back and kind of fill you guys in, or at least ask permission to do that, as I will be doing for other groups as well. But I just want to focus on the fact that today's announcement is really just about the fact that we've selected NCR as the expected developer. One other caveat with that, and I keep saying expected, we anticipate this project to move forward, but NCR, like I said, has to go find their funding. Now, this is something they do. They've got a strong track record of that, but the project happens is dependent on them going out and getting funding. And so later, when I'll talk about the letter of support that I'm here to ask for, that's kind of where that all fits in, is the fundraising part. Josh, can you move on? So I don't want to get too far into design, and I mentioned this is a very poor man's version of a design. I just want to highlight a couple of things when we're talking about the first floor rendering. So first, that solid black line that you see, you'll notice first that on kind of the bottom left corner is the bank building. Remember, that's not gonna be redeveloped or really touched in as part of this process, so that will kind of be carved out from development or anything that happens here. The other thing is, as you're looking at this graphic, the frontage along Broad Street. So not only does this parcel include all those, but then there's an alley behind it, and then Next Gen owns some of the properties right immediately behind that. So we're actually talking about a fairly large footprint. You can see that retail space, obviously not exact, but in our MOU with NCR, we asked for frontage along Broad Street. And we will be able to kind of like, basically the way that we're proposing this will work is we will sign a master lease with NCR, Hilltop Rise will, where we'll sign that for $1 a year. And we will actually control the commercial space. And that'll do a couple things. First of all, NCR, they focus and specialize in senior housing. They don't really want to be involved with commercial activity. So that's where we step in. Our role is to like give opportunities, not ideally to Hilltop folks who want to open businesses, but we want to really help give a nudge to the commercial, our corridor, the commercial corridors we have. So by us having control over those retail spaces, we can go out and recruit folks who want to open businesses here. So that's where that really comes in. And because we're signing a master lease for $1 a year, that will give us the flexibility to make sure that we can keep the rents affordable. That gives opportunities for first-time entrepreneurs or folks that are going to offer something that's going to be a good fit for the community. So I can pretty much just go on the record and say, this is not going to be the spot for like the high-end juice bar. No offense for anyone who's looking for that. These are going to be things that the folks in the community are actually going to benefit and that's what we're hoping to find. So that's where that retail space is. I put parking in the back. Obviously, I have no idea if that's where the parking is going to end up. My point is there will be parking on premises because again, this would be independent housing. But I just want to give you an idea of kind of what that would look like. The other thing that would be included on this first floor, NCR's office and lobby, resident community room, fitness studio, and then all the mechanicals, all the utilities, the elevators, the stairwells. All that stuff eats up a lot of real estate. And so that's why when I was talking about the retail would be a portion of the first floor, that's why, because there will be just a lot else going on the first floor. Before I get into questions, can you actually go back a couple slides, Josh, to that's good. So yeah, it doesn't really matter, honestly. When talking about design, I know we're way too early to talk about that, but a couple of things that have come up in prior conversations. I think it is both helpful and also a little bit risky to look at some of the other NCR projects to try to anticipate what the bank block is going to look like for two primary reasons. One, remember that the bank building is not going to be touched in all this. So anything that happens is going to be immediately adjacent to that. And we want to make sure that there's a seamless transition, that it like fits with the character of the bank block, the bank building. So that's one reason. And the other is if you look at some of the other NCR projects here, they don't have first floor commercial. And so I just think fundamentally that's going to just change the look. So my ask to you is that you don't just look at these projects up there and say, oh, that's what it's going to look like, because we don't know that yet. We're not far along in here. However, I do think there's a couple of valuable things to point out from Josh, can you scroll back to the last three, as you look at these, a couple things you notice is one, none of these are like massive high rises, right? If you look at most of the stretch along Broad Street, it's a lot of 2- and 3-story, a little bit of 4-story buildings. Now, we don't know exactly what the height is going to be, but NCR has already indicated they're not looking to do a massive tower. And I think most community members don't want that. That was the feedback we got. The other feedback that you can kind of see just by looking at these, NCR does not build ultra modern, all glass properties. We really want this to fit in with the character of the community, not so much to just blend in, but you also want to maintain that balance of not sticking out. So I've brought up, we got a lot of feedback in those community sessions about the Gravity Project in Franklinton. And so not like throwing shade on our friends in East Franklinton, but people specifically said they don't want a project that's going to look like Gravity. And I think that makes sense because the Hilltop doesn't have a lot of ultra modern buildings. And so I think you can anticipate, even though we don't know what the design is gonna look like, I think you can anticipate something that's going to be timeless and gonna fit in again with the character of the neighborhood. So again, I will be back as we get further along. We're a little bit shy on major announcements, but I at least wanted to come in and tell you a little bit about NCR and why we selected them. Josh, can you go ahead a couple to, yeah, this guy. So I'm asking today for a conditional letter of support. So I mentioned that NCR is going to be going out raising funds. A letter from this commission would help them in that process. The reason it's conditional is because, again, you guys don't have enough information to kind of give final sign off, and we wouldn't expect that. So that's again why I'm saying I'm going to come back when we're ready for the next updates. So what you'd be saying today is essentially, do you support NCR being named as the expected developer for this project? So you can kind of think of this as a checkpoint. So I know I bombarded you guys with a lot of information, but that was all I had. I'm sure you guys have some questions. So what questions can I answer or attempt to? Yes.
Can I make some comments real quick as chair of planning and economic development? No, okay. So, in full disclosure, before I speak, I sit on the board of Hilltop Rise, so does Jenny, so I might be a little biased. But, I've been deeply involved in this project, both from Hilltop Rise and Planning and Economic Development Committee. Let me just say that there's like a lot of uniqueness here, right? We're talking about a non-profit developer. There's an abundance of for-profit developers, understandably. But there's some projects that the private developers would struggle to take on to have profit as their main mission is profitability for their owners and shareholders. But with a nonprofit developer, you have an additional level of accountability. If I get on National Church Residence's website, I can look at their finances. I can look at their board of directors. Whereas a private developer, they wouldn't be able to disclose as much, and it would be more to the benefit of profitability than to the benefit of the community. We've had Danny present at our Planning and Economic Development Committee and actually meet with our committee members to discuss the needs of the community. He's also been to the Highland West Civic Association to discuss with them. So far, it's been very well received by the committee. And any of them are welcome to speak on this project here tonight. You know, if there were to be a private developer come in and do this rather than NCR, then you might not get as good commercial space or residential space. Senior living might occur, but as far as the commercial space, you might see more corner stores or other sorts of commercial spaces, whereas in this case, Hilltop Rise would have you know, more oversight on who the tenants would be, and the master lease would really be to their benefit, I believe. This will allow for seniors to age in place with a developer that has a very good reputation for affordable senior living. One of the things that we talked about the last meeting, I opened up for a committee discussion on if you could make one wish as to a business that you'd like to see open up on the Hilltop, what would it be? We got a lot of people that said restaurants, delis, third spaces, that sort of thing. And I think if we could get any one of those businesses into this commercial space, it could provide a proof of concept for future development, whether they're in the nonprofit or the for-profit space, to come in and follow that model. So that's just kind of what I wanted to speak at. Once everyone's done with questions, Commissioner Montana will actually make the motion, and I'll actually be abstaining. But yeah, that's just kind of what I wanted to say as chair of Planning and Economic Development. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. I just want to thank you for coming out, speaking on this and obviously asking for our support. Does anybody have any, like, and Danny's talked about this, given what Commissioner Smith has said and what we've seen in the presentation. Does anybody have any opposition to what has been presented? Because I believe a lot of us can throw a lot of support into the idea of it, or at least I can speak on behalf of myself. But is there anybody commission wise that's in opposition of this as it's presented, or as the letter itself, as it's it has been already sent out to everybody, what we would be signing off on?
Also happy to read it.
Yes, actually, Commissioner Montana, if you wouldn't mind just reading the letter itself that we be signing off on.
It was in the agenda. Thanks.
Sorry.
This is the letter that we are proposing to send, with approval. So it says, to whom it may concern, the Greater Hilltop Area Commission has voted in favor, hopefully, or permitting this vote during the May 2025 full commission meeting to support the mixed-use development project proposed by National Church Residences and Hilltop Rise at 2374 West Broad Street in Columbus, Ohio. GHAC believes in providing safe, affordable housing for our aging residents that will allow them to remain surrounded by their support systems in their neighborhood. Sorry, I'm getting some feedback. The new construction mixed-use development will include affordable housing for seniors. This project will be a transformative combination of safe, affordable housing for seniors age 55 and older with a retail space along West Broad Street, the first linked us bus rapid transit corridor. There's a correction, it said link to us, I'm changing it to link us. National Church Residences, an industry leader, is uniquely qualified to deliver quality and impactful development to meet the needs of this community. We look forward to seeing the complete site plans and elevations. We are prepared to support Hilltop Rise and National Church Residences if they maintain the neighborhood's character and increase housing affordability. Sincerely, the commission.
Any commissioners have, again, any questions or direct like opposition as to what we're discussing? Because I know, yeah, Commissioner Roof.
So how many of the apartments, residents are going to be for seniors? Do you know that? Because I heard you say the majority would probably be regular full rent.
Oh, so it'll be 100%, it'll all be seniors. You're talking about market rate
Yeah,
versus
market
affordable.
rate,
Okay.
yes.
We won't know that because the different funding sources that NCR is gonna go after will kind of determine what that makeup looks like. So I don't have the numbers yet, and I'm not trying to be obscure, it's just they don't know those yet. But almost certainly the majority will be market rate. That's typically based on how projects go.
Commissioner Carr.
I just have a quick question. Didn't you say that there were maybe 2 other NCR properties where they do have some commercial spaces? Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought you had said that they maybe do have a couple of projects.
When we met, that's true. When we met with them, not in Central Ohio, but because they're a nationwide developer, they have had, this is kind of like a one-off in their perspective. They do occasionally do those if the project calls for it. I think they were talking about one that they had done in the Atlanta area that had some commercial. I don't know much about it. I can find more information, but it does occasionally happen. It really is like dependent on situations like this, where if the community really demands it or is looking for it, that's when they'll be a little more open to it.
I just think that's a good thing to just kind of let people know sort of that, you know, NCR it's not like their very first time of ever doing that. It makes it a little easier to support, kind of knowing that, well, NCR at least does do that.
That's true. That's good.
Commissioner Fagan.
A couple of things, if you don't mind, Danny. I worked for National Church Residences for 15 years, so I kind of know a lot of the people still there. So I don't know if I need to abstain tonight or not, but I know the organization pretty well, and I have a lot of confidence that they'll do a great job. Are you in the position that you can be a sponsor or co-developer on this project, Hilltop Rise? Are you looking at that opportunity?
Can you, just for anyone else, can you define what that would look like?
Well, if National Church Residences is going to be the developer, depending on their funding sources, they will often look for nonprofit organizations to align with to be able to make sure that the funding is available, for the right. Ownership structure. And so it's just an opportunity, I think, for Hilltop Rides potentially to generate some revenue or support for you as an organization. If you're
Gotcha.
not ready to answer that, that's fine too, but.
Yeah, we've had some conversation with them about that. It may have, actually, they kind of brought it to us because again, we're a pretty young organization. And so that really wasn't on our radar. We just want to see something good, in our opinion, happen for the Hilltop. And they kind of said, well, here's how it can often work. And so, yeah, they did ask us about that.
And then just a comment, one of the things I think is really missing in the senior space is, seniors that are taking care of grandchildren. I think that would be a remarkable, anchor at that community, even if it's a couple of units. I think it's, something to consider. Cause the model that they often do that you're talking to us about is kind of a 1-bedroom senior, or maybe a couple living by themselves. But I think given where it's gonna be located, the potential there, I think, providing, grandparents that take care of grandkids is an opportunity, I think would be great. Those are my questions and comments.
So we're meeting with them next week. I'll bring that up. They had indicated that in some past projects, now, just because something works or doesn't work in one area, doesn't mean it's gonna be applicable elsewhere. But they had indicated that they had done some, maybe you might know better than I do. They had been having some trouble more with like larger units that they were trying to rent out. And so you're right, typically it ends up being like the either couples or single bedrooms. But I'll ask about that. That hasn't come up before, but that's a really good question. And I think I could see why that might be relevant here. Thank you.
Sure. And if those units couldn't be rented to older adults raising grandchildren, could there be co-living opportunities? They could then add some affordability that we don't often see either, so that we might find.
Thanks. I did see a hand in, sorry, go ahead. Commissioner McGee? There you go.
Okay. I was just wondering, since it will be for seniors, I was wondering if maybe the community have mentioned that maybe a farmer's market or a food pantry, maybe paired with Mid-Ohio, because if it's for low income, I know those families probably will be receiving EBT or SNAP. So I think something like that, like a farmer's market, or a food pantry would be good for in the retail space.
Okay, that's interesting. I'll take that back to the team. Just a couple comments on that. So I'm splitting hairs a little bit, but it won't all be low income, but you're right, there will be potentially affordable, a portion would be affordable. Some of the feedback that we've gotten specifically from the Highland West Civic Association is they really want to see retail space that's going to benefit the community. Now, not that obviously would also benefit the community, but I could see where there's maybe a little bit of dynamic of trying to you can never please everybody, but trying to make that both relevant for the folks who are going to be living above, but also making sure that's something that the neighboring area is going to benefit from. I think it's a really good point. It would also be geographically very close to the Mid-Ohio farm, like the one on Wheatland. So, yeah, I'll take that back, but I think that's a really good point. And I should say we are pretty early on in the discussions about commercial. And when I went to the Highland West group, we had a very good discussion, but I think we got a little ahead of ourselves talking about got down some rabbit holes, but I think those are helpful conversations to have early on. So thank you.
Yeah, so I kind of just bring it back to the letter itself. So we're just submitting, we're supporting the idea and the concept because they don't have the funding or the site plans or the final details. Again, it's just what's presented tonight is that Hilltop Rise Natural Church Residency is teaming up together to get community support and buy-in so that they can start the process of obtaining funding. Then they'll come back to us and say, hey, the funding dictates that we can go 4 stories. The funding dictates that we can actually do this many units. The funding dictates that we can have this much retail space on the first floor, and this is what we've identified can fit in there. So tonight, again, if there are any more questions as it relates to why we should not support Hilltop Rise and National Church Residency teaming up together to do this project, I'd like to hear that feedback. Is there any feedback such as that here present in the audience at all? I know somebody else wanted to speak. Kathy?
Something positive to say.
Okay, yeah, that's it.
I've been familiar with NCR for more than 20 years. Starting with the former job I had and kind of watching over the years. If I'm not mistaken, they are probably largest nonprofit in Columbus, based in Columbus. That's national. I mean, they're huge and they have an amazing track record, locally and nationally. This is a dynamite partnership. And while I've heard talk about market rate housing, I think NCR has everything so crazy federally, but I think federal low income tax credits might be available and there could be more than a few units that are really affordable because they benefit from the tax. And then Ohio Capital Corporation for Housing is here. I'm sure, you know, all these groups are going to be working together. And yeah, the funding for this kind of housing is complex and most of us don't get in the weeds. And I'm certainly not current on how that's going to work, but NCR has a dynamite reputation and it's really good news. I'm looking at something. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks. Well, I'm gonna turn it over to Commissioner Montana. So she can support the motion.
So I'll make the motion to sign the, I think we have a question.
Oh, yeah, so Elise.
Question for all.
Sorry, so there are a few commissioners that would need to abstain
Mhm.
from this process, so I just want to make sure that we're.
Forwardly.
Yeah, that was planned.
Okay,
Thank
cool.
you.
Just wanted to make sure so everybody knew. Okay, thank you.
So Commissioner Smith has opted to abstain, and Commissioner Fagan is abstaining,
And Kevin White.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any conflicts? Hilltop Rise, National Church Residency? Okay,
But I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Just a teachable moment. I did want to just let you know for future conversations. If you believe you have a perceived conflict of interest, I would ask that you recuse yourself from the discussion. Just so you don't sway the commission in either way. Like I said, just a teaching moment.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion that we sign in favor of the support letter for Hilltop Rise for the Bank Bluff project. Based on the information we have right now. Again, the letter was sent out in the agenda, so you all have a copy of it, and I did read it aloud. Would anyone like to second?
seconded by Commissioner Bates. We'll go ahead and have Joe take a vote. If you're ready.
Yeah. Okay, I'll start with myself. I am in favor. We'll move on to Commissioner Montana,
Yes.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Bates,
Yes.
Commissioner Mead, Commissioner McKee,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Commissioner Carr,
Yes.
and Commissioner Booth.
Yes.
Okay, so that's 1, 2. 10 in favor, none opposed, 3 abstain. The result is the motion passes.
Good to go. We'll finish drafting the letter and we'll have it over to you by tomorrow.
No rush, but really appreciate your time and consideration. I'll be back when I have more, but I really thank you all for your time.
Thank you so much for all your hard work here in the Hilltop. All right, moving on to reports of officers. I don't have anything at this time, but I will state that I am working on some commissioners' concerns. Those should be addressed hopefully by tomorrow without any issues moving forward. Moving on to Commissioner Montana, Vice Chair.
Nothing to share at this time.
All right, on to Commissioner Argiro, Secretary.
Nothing at this time.
Treasurer Commissioner Smith, do you have anything to report?
Just a little bit. Thank you, Chair. So we're in the first week of the new budget cycle. Thank you. So that means no more reimbursement for Department of Neighborhoods without prior approval. And we should also start getting a P card report monthly, so that should kind of help with get back on a regular reporting cycle. That's all I have.
Thank you. Now we're moving on to committee reports. We're going to turn over to Commissioner Bates for zoning. And we actually we're going to change out that microphone because Bates is going to be speaking a bit.
All right. All right, well, the zoning committee met last month. So we've been having conversations about demolition permits. And our goal is to have demolition permits come before the committee from now on, because the way demolition permits work, for those who don't know, is you have 60 days once you file before the city will approve or deny your demolition permit. The area commission has the option to try to expedite that process. So we did vote 5-0 for those who were present on 2 demolition permits at the last meeting. The first was for 1947 West Broad Street, which is the historic house right on the hilltop, but not for the house. The house is fine. But the little garage in the back along the alleyway, that is gonna be coming down, which will actually probably open up some space for future development, hopefully, with that property in the future. And the other was for the Briggs High School bleachers. The city, Columbus City Schools is in the process of replacing unsafe bleachers at our football stadiums. And so Briggs was on kind of their first round. And so the goal for that is to have the new bleachers in place by the start of the next football season. So for those who are fans of Briggs High School football, hopefully by next spring or next fall, you'll get to be seen on some nice safe bleachers where there isn't like a gap between the press box and the stands and like a little rickety milk crate it looked like to get into places. So that was a safety issue. We have, we also had 2 additional demo permits that have come in that have requested now being expedited. The first was for 3660 West Broad Street, which is the old Burger King. And then the other one was 480 Columbian Avenue, which is the Haunts Park Shelter House. Both have reached out to me in the past week to see if we can get those projects expedited. And so the shelter house, I know there's been conversations about that in the past. I do not know the plans for 3660 West Broad Street. I have emailed the person who's been emailing me. I don't think she's here. No. To get more information about that project. So are there any, so I want to put up before we have our zoning applications come up on those 2 demolition permits, and we can do maybe the Haunts Park first. Are there any objections or concerns from the commissioners about sending in notification that we approve an expedited demolition permit for the shelter house at Haunts Park? Seeing none, I will go ahead and send in that application. And then 3660 West Broad Street, the old Burger King. Are there any concerns or objections to this property?
Has anybody driven by it lately? It needs to be expedited.
Yeah.
It's become a homeless encampment right now. So yeah, we really need to expedite that.
Are there any concerns from the community about either of these properties demolitioning the shelter house at Hunts Park or the old Burger King?
I did have a question about the Burger King one. Do you
Yes.
know who submitted the application?
I do have the name, but it's not in front of me right now. We did try to look up, and Dan, you said you tried to look up like the corporation for the Burger King. You thought it was a auto.
It looked like it could be like an oil change type of facility. That's like, my memories. Yeah, I think so.
And then I did have a question about the 1947 West Broad.
Yes.
Was there any clarification as if it was the garage out back or the storefront on West Broad?
It was the garage out back, not the place in, right along that cool little
They're like old
carriage
flower shop.
house.
Yeah, I thought there was.
It was originally the dugout confectionery back in the day.
Okay, we can move on. I just wanted a
Yeah.
little bit more clarification, because sometimes people confuse the two buildings.
Right,
I
yeah,
thought there
thank you.
was a demo permit for the storefront along West Broad as well.
Yeah, they said the goal is right now just the alleyway garage, and they are still hoping to be able to develop that into something in the future.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, I will send in, seeing no objections, I will go ahead and send in those emails to expedite those two projects. All right, moving on to our zoning variances requested. The first up will be 1288 Georgesville Road. You guys want to come on forward to present on this? So this is 1288 Georgesville Road. Right now it is zoned C2, which is a commercial property, and it's going to be zoned to a CPD, which is Commercial Plan District. So C2s do not allow a drive-through, and a CPD can allow a drive-through. And this is for a 7 Brew Coffee, which is a quick drive-through coffee house. During our committee meeting, we voted 5-0 in support of recommending approval of the rezoning from C2 to CPD.
Good evening. Could we go to the site plan? Next one. Thank you. My name is Alan Wiley. I'm with GBC Design. I have Matthew Weymouth with Motley 7 Brew here. He's the developer. We are looking at tearing down the existing building that is there, the entire site, and constructing a new 7 Brew location, which is a drive-through coffee stand. This location would have access off of Parkwick Drive. We would actually be moving the existing access point further east towards Hickory Wood Drive at the request of the City of Columbus Transportation Department due to site distance triangles that they made us adhere to in their rules. We would be building a 500 square foot restaurant. Again, it's a drive-through coffee stand. We have 2 lanes all the way around the building for ordering. They actually have people that come out into the drive-through to take people's orders in their cars. And then you would pull up underneath the canopy up by the pickup window, and then would walk the coffee to each of the lanes, one on the inside, one on the outside. We are currently have showing, I believe, 12 parking spaces on site. Those are typically for employees that work here. They don't discourage you from coming in and parking and walking up to order, but they also don't advertise it. So we could do that if you want to, but a majority of their businesses drive through folks coming through. If you can go to the next slide, please. The next 2 slides are going to be just pictures of the building, renderings of the building, and the cooler next to it. There is a blue horizontal line there. That is the canopy that covers the front and both sides of their building to provide cover for their employees and beautiful weather like we have today. There are a couple of order stations. I'm sorry, menu boards there. There are no speaker boxes at this location. All the ordering is taking place with people walking up to the car with iPads. So there'll be no noise from a speaker box to annoy the residents that are blocking it. You can go to the next, that's the side views there. We have a little bit of signage on the building, which we will get approved by the City of Columbus. On the bottom there, it shows the 2 sets of doors that the employees would walk into and out of to get the coffee delivered to the customers as they go through. And then the next one, that is the landscape plan that we are proposing. We are meeting all of the City of Columbus requirements for landscaping. We are screening the entire drive-through area and parking area with shrubs. So there should be no headlight trespass off the property. On the east side there, next to the residence, we are actually proposing a fence along that entire property line. I believe it's a 6-foot high fence, solid opaque fence to keep, again, the headlights from going that direction. We have shrubs all along that. We're proposing about a dozen trees on the site total. Again, all of that meets the city's requirements for landscaping. Be happy to answer any questions you folks have.
Questions from commissioners?
Yes,
Commissioner Roof?
Do you have any other locations in Ohio?
yes.
You do?
Yeah, I think the closest one is up on North High Street,
Okay.
north of 270, I believe.
Yes, and one of the Hilliard, Zanesville, Newark are the closest. We have 16 currently open in Ohio. They will have about 40 open by the end of this year.
So for those who didn't hear, there's 16 currently open. They're planning on opening 40. And there's several here within the 270 belt that are open currently.
Other questions from commissioners? Are there any questions from community members? Then at this time, I move that we recommend approval of rezoning from C2 to CPD for 1288 Georgesville Road, application Z25-013. Do you have a second?
Second.
Then Jerry, you take the roll then?
Yeah. Just getting the format. Okay. We will start with our committee chair base.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And then I'll start on my left and go counterclockwise. Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Ardro is yes. Montana,
Yes.
Maddox,
Yes.
I mean,
No.
Commissioner McKee.
Yeah.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Kemper,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roof,
Yes.
and Fagan.
Yes.
That is, then 12, in favor, 1 opposed, so.
Thank you. So the process now is I have the recommendation form and I will fill that out and send it in either tonight or tomorrow morning. Down to downtown, and then they take it from there and may the speed be with you. Thank you guys for coming in.
Thank you.
All right. Our next application is for 2424 Steel Avenue, CV 25-031. This is currently a vacant lot that the owners wish to build a duplex on the property. Is currently zoned R3, which is single family residence, so they will need a variance to construct a duplex. And there's also a request to shrink the side yard requirements from 5 feet down to 4 feet for the side yard. And then there was an additional variance that was discussed during committee around parking spaces. However, updated designs have shown that they don't actually need that variance now because they have added 2 additional parking spaces to the design to address concerns raised during committee. Would you like to come forward and present the design and the project?
No.
Tell me that second variance for parking issues. We don't have to do that.
Hello, everyone. My name's Jennifer. I'm presenting the design for my friend Saul Dimas. He had this lot for a while now. He's been trying to ideally build either a 2-family dwelling or a 3-family dwelling, but unfortunately, due to certain complications and miscommunication with the city and zoning, he decided to just do a 2-family dwelling. I know in the previous meeting, we had a 2-car garage, but due to there being, not, I guess, an agreement with everyone, so I decided to add a 4-car, parking pad. And yeah, so, this is on 2424 Steel. It's on the corner of North Eureka and Steel Avenue. I am requesting a variance because there's supposed to be a 25-foot setback from North Eureka and a 25-foot setback from Steel. So I was requesting a variance to reduce the side yard because it needs a minimum of 5 feet. So I was asking to reduce it to 4 feet. I won't need the amount of parking space anymore variance, but the other variance we requested was to allow a 2-dwelling family. This used to have a single family dwelling on the property, but it was torn down a couple years ago. So yeah, he's trying to rebuild on a slab, a 2-story, 2-family dwelling. I don't know if anybody has any questions.
I have a question.
Yes.
Questions from commission? Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not sure, we said, how many bedroom units will these be?
It's gonna be a 3-bedroom, 1 and 2.5 baths, I believe, or 1.5. Have it on my phone, but.
And I was wondering, is there anywhere on the property where, if it's a 3-bedroom, just say if they had kids, is there anywhere to play?
There's a park right behind the street, right behind us, the park we were just at.
Yeah,
But on the property, is there any?
I mean, there's so on one of the side yards, there's a lot of space there. It is gonna be fenced in, it's already fenced in. So around the property line, the property's already fenced in, so they'll have like ample space on the side. Just because the lot is it's angled weird, so that's why and the setbacks have to be, there's like a lot of setbacks from the Steel and North Eureka. Yeah, so basically where you see that fence, that's where the old house was, and then they have the other metal fence, so that where that wooded fence is, that's where the previous house sat on, so it's gonna be a little bit, I guess not necessarily smaller, it's gonna be a couple of feet bigger, but it won't be much.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions from commissioners? Commissioner Roof?
Yes, is there a reason why the current property owner hasn't been maintaining it regularly, the property?
I'm not exactly sure, why he wasn't maintaining it. I know he has been cutting the grass now. I know he did have a lot of trees, so he had, contracted somebody to do the work, and I guess, there might have been a miscommunication and it wasn't left entirely done, so he had to hire somebody else to come down and cut the remaining trees that he had an issue with, and then the other issue was before he purchased the property, he went to speak with zoning first to see if he was allowed to build a 2-family or 3-family dwelling, and he was told in the beginning that he was. But then when he went to go pull the permits, he was told that he wasn't. So there was that miscommunication with how he couldn't start his project sooner. So he didn't know what the next steps were when we're coming here to get the variances.
I still have.
We'll go to Commissioner Carr.
I don't, just would this be the time? I have a letter from the Highland West Civic Association. It was supposed to be sent to James, sorry, but it was, they thought it was gonna be next week. Do I read this now or should I, is this?
Go ahead.
Sorry. It's from the Highland West Civic Association where the property is located. I'm writing on behalf of the Highland West Civic Association regarding, at this point, it was 3 variances for the property located at 2424 Steel Avenue. Our association strongly opposes the approval of these variances. This property is currently zoned for single-family residential use, which aligns with the prevailing character of our neighborhood. The overwhelming majority of properties in the area are single-family homes, and preserving this character is essential to maintaining the stability and livability of our community. Since its purchase, the property has accumulated 12 code violations in 2 years. The property owner has demonstrated ongoing neglect and disregard for community standards. As is often said, past behavior is the best predictor of future behavior. Granting these variances would effectively reward a pattern of noncompliance and poor stewardship. In addition, most residences in the area are non-owner occupied with landlords who live outside the community. These absentee owners do not witness firsthand the negative effects of unkempt properties, street congestion, or persistent trash issues. Variance that reduce on-street parking requirements would further burden our residents, forcing tenants to rely on already crowded street parking, an unacceptable outcome for those who live there daily. Another significant concern is the heightened risk should a fire occur, given the limited distance between the property. This proximity could exacerbate the situation and endanger both the new development and adjacent homes. Furthermore, there are practical considerations related to accessibility. The ability to maneuver heavy equipment for construction and ongoing maintenance may be severely hindered by the proposed site layout, potentially resulting in logistical challenges and increased costs. We're also deeply concerned that the immediate neighbors were not notified of the variance request. When a property owner seeks to build closer to neighboring homes and permitted by city code, nearby residents deserve to be informed and given the opportunity to respond. In light of these issues, the Highland West Civic Association respectfully urges the commission to deny the variance request for 24 Steel Avenue, ensuring the safety and sustainability of our community should remain our top priority. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that letter. I do want to address some of the concerns that you did bring up. I did not get a chance to read it beforehand, but I did make some notes. So, in backwards order, I did see the signs out at the property, on April 19th that mentioned the zoning variances, that, the meeting for zoning didn't, happen until, that following Wednesday. I get that there was only 4 days, but I did see the zoning signs in the yard to address the concerns that the neighbors weren't notified. I know the applicants are required to send out letters to adjacent property owners. I can't contest to that. I do agree that there may be a potential fire hazard with the 2 duplexes being close to another set of duplexes. So I'd be in favor of moving it closer to Eureka. I don't know why the city is making you have a 25-foot setback.
That's why
The
I
other
was,
homes aren't 25.
that's what I was a little bit confused when I was doing the setbacks. Normally, they would allow us to follow where the other house sits. But according to the city, they wanted it to be 25 from Steel and North Eureka, but normally they don't do that. I don't understand why.
And then, again, to address some of the,
And,
brought up,
Sorry, just to add one thing about the fire, so because the property is close, would be closer to like the duplex, it will have to be like fire rated. That's just something that the city, like, that's building code.
and then I did have a question about the 12 code violations that you mentioned. Do you have the specifics as to what those 12 were? Were they all just
There were
grass?
most of them were for mowing,
Okay.
and then the fence has been damaged since the purchase of the property.
Gotcha. I do remember the house that used to, I do remember the house that used to sit here and it did catch on fire.
It got hit by a car, I believe, because people use that street as a racetrack.
Yes, and then I guess my other concern, the letter stated something about the equipment. That Main Street Eureka has been recently redone. Yeah, there's the old house that used to sit on the property.
Yeah.
And again, I get the concern of the neighborhood development, but there's a duplex right next door that only has a single car driveway. So if we're asking the next door neighbor to have 4
Well, we
parking
grandfathered
spots.
those in.
Yeah, but I mean,
So
if,
we can't go back and change houses that have been sitting there for 100 years.
but you can't also say that the neighborhood can't also look like the neighborhood when the neighborhood next to it looks like the neighborhood. You can't say a duplex can't go next door. Right next door is a duplex that doesn't have adequate parking. And they're providing adequate parking.
Well, that's why those people are parking on the street.
But again, but if-
That's an alley next door. They're parking right in front of the house.
Again, to address some of the concerns, I don't see the issue with putting a duplex next to a duplex that also has adequate parking now based off of the
Well,
updated.
another thing that
site
the city
plans.
implemented, which wasn't before, was that we're supposed to have like a triangle. It's on the site plan that I sent you guys. We're supposed to have like that triangle in the corner, so 30 by 30 feet. And the house is not supposed to sit there. Well, the old house, obviously blocked that area, which, allowed for a vision. But the city now requires, a corner lot to have that 30 by 30 feet triangle, so you're not allowed to build in that area. For the city.
Thank you. Generally, I'm in favor of trying to increase housing accessibility, opportunity, and the numbers. It is correct that most of the neighborhood is single family. Would the applicant be willing, if this doesn't pass tonight, to consider a single family? What do you think the next plan would be if they don't get this approved?
Honestly, I'm not really sure. I guess I'll just have to sit down and talk with him about it, because like I said, originally he was planning on doing a duplex, and then I said we should settle for a duplex. But I'm honestly, I'm not sure.
And then, thank you so much for being an advocate for our community. I know this isn't your first time here before us, being a good translator and steward to.
That's exactly what I'm doing right now.
I know, and I just want to say thank you. And I know that one of the comments in the letter was something about the ownership of the duplex. Do you know if this is going to be family occupied one half, or is the owner going to live in one half, rent out the other, or is this strictly going to be rental?
I'm not really sure what he plans on doing. I mean, normally if he rents to family, then that'll be fine, but normally he'll rent out to, like, usually it'll be the Hispanic community because that he's Hispanic.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's pretty much, yeah.
Does he own any other property here in
He
Hilltop?
does. He does own other properties as well. Yeah.
I just wanted to make a comment.
Yes.
So, because you've represented other people too, it is always it is always very helpful to have the actual owner here instead of making you answer for them. So
I agree.
it would be like, just for future reference, because there were questions before about the conditions of his other properties and what his intentions were. Because we do have a lot of people that don't live here in the Hilltop that will buy up, badly damaged properties. And we want to know how long they plan to let them sit, what their future plans are. So it always makes us feel like bums for making you answer for them, for the owner. So if you can encourage him to come visit us sometime, that would be.
Okay.
Thank you.
Additional questions from the commissioners? Commissioner Roof?
Do you know if those letters were mailed out to the neighbors?
I have no idea because I've done a couple variances before, and normally, we'll send out like I forgot what they're called, like the little stickers that they're supposed to print out and send out the letters. So I've never had to send them out, and then I think I don't know who I spoke to.
Yeah.
Was it you? And I had asked you if you had told me that I was supposed to send the letters, and then I asked you is there something that we're supposed to put on the letters? Because I've never done that. Like usually somebody will send them out for us.
Yeah, and I know the city sends out letters
Yeah.
before they have their hearings, because remember, we as a
Yes.
commission are just providing recommendations for the zoning people downtown. And I know they do send out
Yes.
the letters at that time.
Yes.
But I could not find additional information. I do know they put the sign out and those things, so.
They do put the sign out. I called the Board of Zoning and the BZA office the other day to ask them because I wasn't sure of the process of the letters. And they had told me that in our area for our commission, the letters go out when it hits the clerk's office.
Yeah.
So it's not going out during the stage of community conversation. So the immediate neighbors outside of just sort of seeing a sign and saying, hey, you wonder what that is? Let me call and find out. You'd have no idea what to ask, what a variance. A lot of people probably do not know what a variance request is, just to be honest.
Any additional questions? For the applicant? Mr. Smith?
I did, and thank you, Chair. I did just want to point out that a few days after the meeting, there were two more code violations. Both related to tall grass. Do you know if that's been addressed recently?
I have no idea, but I think he's just waiting for like approval and then go to the city, because he'll have to like, if it does go through, he plans to excavate. So, I mean, I can always talk to him about it as well, but I did mention it to him before that there was tall grass and weeds, and like that's an issue that he needed to address, so.
Okay, thank you. And I completely understand that, but with like 12 as it's been reported, it's kind of hard to believe that there would be a good stewardship of whatever gets built there, for me at least. And for the record, these two code violations were on the 25th of April. Thank you.
Additional questions?
I'm kind of, I got a thing, I had reached out to zoning and variances. With the city, and I asked who was responsible for the letters. And what I got back was the GHAC is responsible for their notifications in whatever form that may be, and evaluating the feedback. You may want to reach out to your zoning chair, your overall chair, or your commissioner for further details. BZS does not manage area commissions and their bylaws and procedures. So basically, they're saying those letters fall back on us.
Yeah, so like the city for sure sends out a round of letters. They put out the yard signs, and then however we as a body are allowing ourselves to notify the community of this. In the past, we have sent out labels before. That's why we have a stockpile of stamps. We've also discussed putting up our own yard signs, but I mean, the yard sign was there when I was doing a park audit the week prior to the zoning committee meeting. So again, we can have an offline discussion and refer it back to zoning about how we are as a body are advocating or connecting with our residents when it comes to these zoning variances. But if there are no other specific questions as it relates to the zoning application, I'd like for us to go ahead and move forward. There's a community question, yes.
Yes, I'm Sherry Carey. I live on Steel Avenue. I don't know when Google Maps took that picture, but that is a heavily parked intersection. The double next door does not have, that's an alleyway beside it. So they only have on-street parking. The house across the street from this property, the small house on the south east corner, had a car run through there years ago, and that's consequently why there is a small house there. The house right next to it now just had a car run through it. It is a very dangerous intersection because it's offset. You cannot see coming or going, and that is my big concern about any further on-street parking.
So, and just a reminder, the parking concern was addressed in the application from the zoning committee when there were only 2 parking spots, and there was a variance requested for that. For a duplex, for a 2-unit duplex, the requirement is 2 parking spaces per unit. And the updated proposal now includes 4 parking spaces for
I
the
just
2
wanted the
units.
commission to
Yeah.
know that that is not a driveway beside that double. So, and, yeah, there has been problems with, accidents across the street, people coming down Eureka. So I think to me, a single family home would suit that area so much better because of traffic and parking.
Sorry, just one question. So that's the alley that you're saying, but it's not the one next to the duplex. That's just
That's
next to the
driveway.
yard, because there's
Yeah.
no.
That's their driveway.
There's no alley for that.
Okay.
Yeah, that goes.
But
in the
yeah,
backyard.
because it doesn't go back, it doesn't go
Yeah,
back
that's
behind
just
the
for the
house.
property next.
Okay.
No, I think the setback, I think the 20-foot setback on both sides, I think is to prevent the traffic. That was something that was observed by Commissioner Maddox and I, but just something.
That was the 30, the traffic one, if we go back to the site plan, the city is now recommending the triangle that she mentioned, this 30-foot triangle.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, but this 25-foot setback is contradictory to what the neighborhood consistently looks
Yes,
like.
true.
So had the address been off of Steel, they're still asking it to be 25 feet regardless, even though the rest of the neighborhood. These other homes aren't 25.
You're like 16.
But even it being on the corner.
Yes,
And then like even from the Steel property, I'm pretty sure the house, the duplex next door is, it's gonna be more in front than where this is gonna sit more behind.
because even at the house across the street, that's a triplex, it's on top of the sidewalk.
Yeah.
The house directly
Yeah.
across the street on North Eureka, yet granted it's on top of a hill, but I want to say it's no more than 15 feet from the street, and it's also on.
Thank you for that.
Are there any other comments, concerns? Yes, in the back.
I'm Leanne. I'm the Director of Outreach and Communication for the North Carolina Neighborhood Association. We had multiple members and board members who brought up concerns about this property, both the neglect that has been happening while all of this is going on, and also how dangerous this corner is. It's kind of one of the more dangerous ones within the neighborhood, the intersection of the road. And we're very concerned about the space between the properties.
Directly between the duplex and the potential duplex?
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess my question for some of the people in the audience, who I've heard a lot of safety concerns, but not so much as it relates to the development of a vacant lot into residential structures. My biggest thing is if we as a body were able to address the safety concerns around the intersection itself, whether it's getting the city to install some type of speed medium, like it just.
It's a throughway, I've been working on it for years.
We also.
Yeah, so I just don't know, I guess my question for the people who have the safety concern is. How is the property owner supposed to mitigate the safety concerns of the people who don't know how to drive in our community? Like, we're essentially saying that the developer is responsible for the safety of the corridor. But he's only responsible,
It's gonna be to that property.
but you can't fit a car between the two properties now. You're doing a minimum of from 5 feet to 4 to move the structure closer to the next house. Like I'm not trying to advocate for the developer, but I get the concern of like. We're saying all of the issues that I'm hearing is the street issues. But somehow it relates back to the property being developed is going to make it worse. But they've also mitigated the parking issue by adding 4 parking spots.
May not have been fair enough. The safety concern of the houses being too close together, or like it was addressed that it's a fire.
The fire, yes.
That was a concern that was brought up by our members as well.
Wouldn't that be mitigated with fire ratings for code? Because there are, I mean, we've got houses that are on top of each other all over this country. And we've got we have zoning regulations around that. Because we're essentially saying, hey, 12 inches, you can't do anything with this property like that because of 12 inches. But if you move your house 12 inches and make it a single family, we don't care. You can do that all day, we don't care.
Yeah.
But this 12 inches is a huge issue from safety is what I'm hearing.
So we're gonna tell the city they're wrong, that they have 5 feet, but hey, you guys don't know what you're talking about, so we'll just make an exemption.
Oh, no, what I'm saying though is there are zoning requirements based off of
Houses
that.
close to one another, But the city gives us a standard. I'm not the expert.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So if we have the 5 feet, we don't need fire rated walls. If we don't have the 5 feet, then we need fire rated walls. That would just be the difference.
So if what she just stated is when she moves the house from 5 feet to 4 feet, a foot closer to the adjacent property, the whole wall is fire rated. So it is safer if it is fire rated than it wouldn't be an additional foot away. So there's still safety concerns as it relates to fire, now that the applicant has mentioned that the wall itself will be fire rated an additional 1 foot closer to the next building, whereas zoning says move it an additional foot away and they won't be fire rated. So are any more concerns about the fire part of it? And again, I want to circle back to the concern of the street safety, as I hope commissioners don't evaluate the street itself being so unsafe that it is somehow the property owner's part to mitigate that. The applicant has no control over what happens in the street or on the street. It is a public right of way. They've stated that they are taking out a garage and adding the 4 spaces needed for the duplex. So there's no parking concern as it relates to the variance they needed. The safety concern between the fire of the 2 buildings is mitigated with a firewall. City has already stated that the sight lines needed is this triangle. So they're complying with all of the measurements that the city is asking them to do. What other safety concerns do people still have? Yes.
So one of the things that we discussed was the fact that there are so many code violations on this property. And I know it's been mentioned that that doesn't bode well for future clients.
Yes. Do you know by chance where the applicant lives? Do they live in the hilltop? Do they live?
Yeah,
close by?
so they, wait, sorry. No, he does not live in the hilltop. He lives in Dublin. Another thing that I was gonna mention is that like, I guess he hasn't been able to get there and maintain the property as well as he has, because he does have like another property that he's developing, and at the moment, the city wants him to fix that one first. So then that's why he told me if I can help him, because this project was supposed to be done like such a long time ago that when, like I said, he had a miscommunication with the city before he purchased the property. He went to the city, did his due diligence. The city told him he was able to build a 2-family dwelling on this property, and this was supposed to be done ages ago. And because of that, him submitting some plans and them saying, actually, you can't do it, it's that miscommunication. I don't know if it was the language barrier.
Yeah.
We're not sure exactly what happened, but that's what, like I said before, like, this was supposed to be done ages ago. It's not that like he was prolonging this or none of that. Like, he was trying to do all the things that he needed to do. Eventually, he got to a point where he wasn't understanding what needed to be done, so he reached out to me. So
I do have one last
I know
comment
he's
about
trying to do the
safety,
best.
it's a safety issue. Right on the corner of Steel and Eureka right there, there's a stop sign that goes down like on the Eureka side. And that's where the elementary school kids get picked up for the bus stop. And the lady who lives in, the elderly lady, senior citizen who lives in the property next door, has been paying her landscapers to mow that strip of property because the grass was so high, the kids were not visible for the bus stop. So she has to pay to maintain that little strip every time her grass is mowed. So the kids are safe out there.
Sorry to add,
Just
that
to
strip is part of the city, so like if we look at the plot map, we can see that where. I don't know if you can go on the Franklin County Auditor's website, I'm sorry, but you're able to see. If we, aside from the 25 feet that we are asked to be behind, there's additional 16 feet from here to the end of like that curve.
Yeah, I don't know. I
So
mean, I don't
that's
have one of those
actually,
grassy lots, but the lady next door was, that's all she,
Yeah.
35, she needs to pay for her now.
There's actually 41 feet from the property, sorry, from the house to the curb. So, yeah, that's the strip, yeah. So where the fence is where the property line of the owner, they're not allowed to move the fence over, they have to stay on their property line.
Are you talking about the grass on the other side of the
On the other
sidewalk?
side of the sidewalk.
So
I
most
don't know.
property
That's
owners
the
take
city
care of that.
owner.
There's grass like that.
Oh, I
everywhere,
wasn't
but-
aware of that.
That I
so
don't-
Yeah.
I thought she was talking about like where
I'm just talking right in front of that stop sign, that little strip right there. Yeah, thank you. It's hard for me to explain that.
Oh, I didn't.
So yeah, it is the property owner's responsibility to maintain the right of way between the sidewalk and the curb.
Yeah.
I and again, I can understand the issues of the language barrier with working with the city. I don't know if they have a full-time Spanish interpreter in the zoning department. This isn't the first time that we've had an experience like this, where we've had to have someone else interpret for us here in this committee level. So I'm sorry for all the frustrations you are having. Hopefully compliance has somebody who also speaks Spanish. Given that these code violations are just landscape maintenance related. Again, based off of whatever comes out of here tonight, I highly recommend that you advocate to the applicant that he needs to keep up on the maintenance of the landscaping. Because again, this isn't the cleanest I've seen it in recent times. So are there any other questions or concerns as it relates to this application? Yes, in the back.
I'm actually wondering if I can look up the street and see that property. And I guess my biggest issue was the parking. Since that's been fixed, I can say I think it's good. Another.
Yes, yeah.
I sometimes drive that corner and I remember the burned out house and glad it was torn down and say I haven't noticed the high breeze. I don't travel that corner. But of course, more housing is what we need. East Lebanon will be a rental. We need more rental housing, single family homes, open rentals and owner occupied homes often have way too many cars and bad parking. So there's nothing inherent about a duplex that it's worse than the average structure. And I think Jim Kepler's point that the applicant needs to come to hearings like this to hear firsthand, even if he understands very little English, you're here to translate. And some of these points are very simple. You've got to mow the grass. The property owner has to make sure the grass is mowed. It's a very simple point. You should be here to hear that. And you know, if he lives in Dublin, he's probably not there very often. But people live here and people, you know, they want to have a good neighborhood. We all want to have a good neighborhood. He would not be able to do that in Dublin. He would not be able to have high grass, not do the sidewalk strip. Dublin would be all over him if he lived his own home in Dublin. He lived this way. Over the years, I've watched a lot of homes that I thought were lost wherever they're so long. And they come back to life. And so many times it's Mexican, Hispanic people who are inhabiting these homes and doing amazing. Your client has gone down on the landscaping, but he can see correct.
Definitely something. Yeah, I do agree with you that he should be looking at.
And he needs to come to meetings like this too. Here first.
All right, I just, thank you so much. We'll move on to the last question from Commissioner Maddox.
There's Facebook comments, but first I would ask the applicant, the grass strip between the sidewalk in front of his home in Dublin, does he mow that himself? Will be a question.
I am not sure if he has a site.
He does. I've got,
okay.
I can pull it up is all I'm saying.
Okay.
But the Facebook comments, question about how is the neighborhood supposed to mitigate the neglectful owner? The closer concern is over getting fire equipment in, and the setback is for visibility due to the offset intersection. Those are the comments.
Gotcha. I can easily address those. The structure is not going to impede any fire equipment getting to this location. We've addressed the firewall. the setbacks were presented as on the site plans for the 30-foot triangle on the corner. And I can tell you right now, I left a park audit meeting last month. I stopped at that stop sign and I couldn't see what was coming from the left more than I could see what was coming from the right. So. So let's go ahead and turn this back over to Commissioner Bates. So we can go ahead and get this.
So there are two zoning variance requests before us on, just make sure I got my numbers right. On CV 25-031, 2424 Steel Avenue. The first variance request is to construct a two-story duplex in an area zoned R3, which is single-family residence. The second variance that we will discuss will be the side yard variance from 5 feet to 4 feet. So the first variance, I motion for a vote on the variance to construct a two-story duplex in an area zoned R3. Do I have a second?
We will start the roll. I would start with Chair Bates. How do you vote?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna go in opposite order, start over with Commissioner Fagan this time. How do you vote?
Yeah, based on tonight's discussion, I vote now.
Okay. Commissioner Roof,
No.
Commissioner Clark,
No. No.
Commissioner Howard. Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner.
No.
Commissioner Reed,
Yes.
Commissioner Maddox,
Yes.
Commissioner Montana,
Yes.
I'm no. Sorry, but I need to come back with a story. Or, single.
I think for single family, I didn't think we needed there.
Correct.
But
So, yeah, Commissioner.
Beyond my personal quarrels, we have two neighborhood groups voicing their opposition. I trust they've done their homework and talked with the community. So between those three items, I'm a no.
Okay, none abstentions, so in favor, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Opposed, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Did I miss anyone? No, that's correct, that's 13 total, 5, 8, 0, so the first variance request for the two-story duplex.
And then the second variance requested was for the 5 foot down to 4 foot for the side yard. I motion that we vote on this issue. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Start again with the chair.
Yes.
So we'll start with Smith.
No.
Arjo's no. Montana,
I'm gonna vote no on this variance.
Maddox,
Yes.
you're Commissioner Emmett,
No.
Commissioner Key,
No.
White,
Yes.
Howard,
No.
Pepper,
No.
R.
No.
Ruth,
No.
and Fagan.
I'm assuming this for any future structure, right? So I'm gonna say I'm okay with that. I would vote yes.
Okay, that's in favor, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 opposed, 0 abstentions. Result is 4 to 9, 0.
And that ends zoning report.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming out. We'll still be submitting this information to the city of Columbus. Again, these are just recommendations from the community, so based on what zoning says, here's where you will proceed.
All right.
Thank you so much for coming out.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Moving on to other committee reports.
Yeah, next meeting, there it is.
Next meeting is gonna be this month, the 28th, here at the library, 6:30 p.m. Alright, moving on to community relations, Josh Maddox and Ashley Montana.
Yeah, you can share. All right, so here we met on the 22nd, discussed some upcoming community events and meetings and kind of some our plan around that. Actually created a document to sign up for volunteering for some of these events. So
Please fill it in.
please fill it out. Please go out there, sign up to your heart's content. The idea is if we can share kind of that community aspect between everybody, not one person has to put in a ton of hours, and we can kind of lighten the load amongst everybody. We'll talk about the social media standards later in new business. We discussed, how can we help promote that the community members are voting members in the committees? So just kind of different ways that we can maybe bolster some community volunteerism and get some more ideas flowing through some of the meetings. And also discussed meeting locations. We talked previously last meeting about bylaw changes. We kind of had a discussion around how can we update some of those things or, work within the committees to figure out what works best for everybody in those committees. So here, the next meeting will be on the 27th of May, and we'll be meeting at the Hilltop Library.
So moving on to government legislation, we did meet, we briefly discussed about it, the election this year. We're still waiting on clarification from the city attorney's office as it relates to getting our petitions published early. Dan Huey did reach out to me, but was not able to connect back. Did you have, did he speak to you about that?
So I did have the correspondence from city attorney's office about that. And based on the language, which by the way, there is some conflicting language about that in the bylaw, so that may be something, I know. But based on the language that's presented in the bylaws, it says 90 days, not at least 90 days, it says 90 days. So.
Okay. Gotcha. And then for anybody who's watching home, what we're discussing is the 2025 election of commissioners. Generally what we try to do is we get everything set and ready to go at the beginning of the year. So our petitions are ready to go with the date updates for this year. It's just getting them published early. We wanted to make sure there wasn't going to be any conflicts. So please keep that on your radar. That petitions will be made available 90 days prior to election. We will be meeting this month on the 27th here at the library. That's going to be at 6:30. Moving on to human service and education. Oh, yes, question.
Hi, I'm sorry, just before you move on, so just to prevent any conflict for the upcoming general election, I know it's usually government and legislation that determines the calendar for when you meet. Did you plan on meeting during the general election in November?
So next month we'll be making the motions to move the dates and then cancel the August one. Well, we were trying to be respectful of everyone's time who went out and voted to try to make this a quick one. So, but it'll be next month.
George, okay, thank you very much. We met back on the 30th. Thank you for everyone, your flexibility to move that. And for the community members and commissioners who continue to participate. Just one big announcement, and this has been something that's been working on in background for a while, but in order to support our Safe Route to School grant submissions that our friends at the city do, and for future capital improvement budget, we're going to move forward with our school traffic infrastructure audits, just collecting data on the state of traffic infrastructure around our schools. We'll start with the elementary schools. We have scheduled Saturday, July 12th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Just get as many done in a day as possible with the routes be provided later, and also provide food and drink and stuff for anyone who's able to be there. There'll be more information coming, but just so you know, we've settled on a date, Saturday, July 12th from 10 to 4. Next meeting is coming up on May 21st. Commissioner Montana, Vice Chairperson, is going to cover that as I need to travel for work. And we'll be out that week. You can always reach me at GHACjoe@gmail.com if you have any questions or concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to liquor permit review, Commissioner Ian Big.
We did meet on April 23rd for a brief meeting here at the Hilltop Library following the zoning committee meeting. We have not been asked to look at any current permits that are pending for liquor. But the committee is continuing to put together, and we put it on our website. I uploaded it again, refreshed it today, of all the liquor permits that have been issued in the Greater Hilltop, along with the permits that are pending. There are currently 104 permits pending in the Greater Hilltop at 55 different locations. Some of those have been pending for a while because there's a quota. Some of them are newer, but if anybody's interested, you can go to our website to see the information that's been put together. It's a little more readable, font's a little bit bigger now, of the stuff that I uploaded for the April 25th, or the April 23rd meeting that we had. Next meeting will be on May 28th, following the zoning committee meeting here at the library.
Thank you. Moving on to planning and economic development, co-chair Commissioner Smith and Commissioner Montana.
Thank you, Chair. I'm gonna speed through this, but for me, that means a normal pace. So we have a few updates from committee. The first is so the Columbus Development Center on Sullivan Avenue, there's a temporary fence. It's been hit by cars a few times. Not the best looking, right? There's supposed to be contractors out there to break ground. I still need to check on that personally to see if they've done so yet. But they are supposed to have completion at the end of July. If it's not done close to or by then, I'm gonna personally follow up, make sure that we get that project through. It'll be a black cast iron fence, so it'll look a lot nicer. It'll be permanent. And there will be budgeted funds from the state of Ohio in case it happens to get hit again, which hopefully it shouldn't, because they're actually putting it about 10 feet back. So hopefully it doesn't happen. But so that was an update on that. There's also a business some of you may be aware of called Planet Puff on Sullivan Avenue. A commissioner and committee member spoke to the business and management. Discussed the concerns of the community to them. And we internally at the committee meeting discussed our concerns of the business briefly there at the committee. I think it'll be an ongoing discussion. And Commissioner Barkus and I are supposed to be following up with the city attorney's property management team. So hopefully I should have some more updates on that soon. And then we had invited guest Cleve Ricksecker, who was the Short North Business Association Executive Director back in the 80s. Talk about meaningful economic development, draw comparisons to the Short North of back then to here. I was gonna share more details, but I'd like to just kind of speed through this. To get y'all out of here to see the election results. And then this led us into our presentation from Hilltop Rise, which is pretty much the same presentation we got. Thank you for coming to engage with our committee, Danny. And our next committee meeting is May 15th, 6 p.m. at the Hilltop Library. We're gonna have a speaker attend this meeting, Lupita Healthy Homes. She's gonna be speaking on the healthy home repair program. Also at some point in this summer or so, we might have Quay Barnes, who is chair of the Mid-East Area Commission, as well as some other East Side area commissioners involved with a partnership of commissions they have over there called the East Side Coalition. Come just to speak to some of the relationship building they've been doing with neighboring area commissioners. Because we would like to kind of, learn how to be better neighbors with some of the area commissions, are surrounding us. And see what, how to best, utilize those relationships, learn best practices. Solve issues that affect our region. So hopefully you'll be seeing that this summer. You're also gonna be seeing more affordable housing, stuff. But that's my report. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Cochineal is not here, but there will be a meeting this month, the 21st, following the Human Service Education Committee meeting here at the library. Moving on to Recreation and Park, we did have our first in-person park audit and cleanup. We were at Holton and Glenview, which was about 2 bags worth of trash. We did do a site audit. And then I do want to confirm that the city will be meeting with us June 17th here at the library, 6:30 p.m. to go over our park audits from last year. Normally, we try to have these at the beginning of the year so we can get the ball rolling on all of the improvements and updates that need to be done throughout our parks here in the Hilltop. But because of the playbook that the department was working on, kind of pushed that timeline way back. But thankfully, we do have a date set. And like I said, that's gonna be next month here at the library. We're gonna be going over park audits from last year with city officials, representatives from city council. We will be meeting this month. Sorry, I'm blanking on that date, but we will be starting at Stephen Drive Park, Saturday, May 17th. At 9 a.m. It's another in-person audit and cleanup, and then we will be traveling to Georgian Heights. We will be parking in the school parking lot, as there's not an actual parking lot for Georgian Heights, so we'll be walking around the school to get to the park itself. And moving on, we have no unfinished business. Next up is new business from community relation as it relates to standard guidelines that the committee, LBC.
I'm so sorry, but you mind repeating when, you plan to review the 2024 park audits, the date and time?
It's June 17th here at the library, 6:30.
Thank you.
Mr. Montana.
Yes, so, and this, oh, it's still working, okay. Hopefully there's less feedback this time. So the last thing we want to review tonight is the social media standards, which are really like digital standards. So this is something that the Community Relations Committee has been working on this year. And so we are just proposing it in front of you. We're not taking a vote tonight. So we just want to kind of encourage everyone to review it and see if there's any questions. So in the agenda, and Josh is pulling it up now, this went out. So this was the standards document that Commissioner Maddox created, and we made some edits as committee. And so it has just like some general standards to use. Backing up, this is something that would not go in our bylaws, but it would be like referenced in our bylaws. So that way it can be a little bit more flexible than our bylaws. But there have been previous commissioners that have presented that we just don't have like standards. And so you'll see the first part is like, it's really about publicizing meetings, kind of what should be shared, how often it should be shared, and things like that. We also talked about like digital outreach in general. So like access to social media accounts, what should be shared on those accounts, what should not be shared, how we manage the commission website. And then the last piece just has like how commissioners should act, which is kind of an addition based on the bylaws that we did change at the end of last year. So there's a lot of information in here. Again, we're not voting on this tonight. We wanted to just bring it to your attention tonight and hopefully vote, I think, next month. But please join us at our next meeting if you have any feedback for us. I will say one of the documents that didn't go out that if you wouldn't mind, I can share, but we also have like a shorter standards document, which if you're here in person, you can kind of see it's much shorter than this one. So it just kind of has some general things. So like it has, the first bullet point is like share information. It should be for commission and committee meetings on events happening in the area about Columbus City Council updates and in a timely manner. When sharing, we need to post information, the date, time, and location. no news articles or political posts, use GHAC branded colors when possible, using a unified voice, so not a voice from a single commissioner, tag partners on social media to expand our network. Access, so officers and committee chairs, we need to adjust the access after each election. All commissioners will have access to the Google Drive to share photos from events, and all commissioners can request posts to be shared. And then we also have email communications, so we have constant contact. So we've talked a lot about utilizing that more. So we want to use this to share about full commission meetings, committee meetings, and special events, and scheduling them when possible. But that document is just kind of an easier to digest version. So if you have any questions, please let us know, but I think we'll plan to vote on this in June. Are there any questions?
Well, I'll make a comment, because this standard's definitely talking about two different versions of ourselves, both in our full commission capacity when we're sharing stuff labeled as Greater Hilltop Area Commission. Some commissioners do have commission-specific Facebook pages that represents themselves. So again, we're trying to uniform and get on the same page of how respectful we want to be on our online presence, as well as in our personal presence, as we're discussing commission business, as we're sharing information as it relates to what's going on in the Hilltop. Again, this is hopefully to keep ourselves up to a higher standard, so we're not engaging in what could be potentially controversial issues or topics that might seem or might put the commission in a negative light, to where people do not want to work with us because we have singled individuals out specifically or organizations out specifically for issues that may be from a very personal point of view. So again, this is talking both about how we need to be engaging online as the commission itself, and again, to in our somewhat personal private lives, whether that's a personal commission page, or if we're talking within our own personal capacity. You do not represent the commission as a whole when you are going on someone else's social media to attack them first. Yeah, with that,
Chair, very short thing, I just reviewing these really quickly, we had no additions or deletions to our agenda, but we did not approve the agenda motion in a second, so I'll motion to approve the agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Smith. All right,
all in favor?
Thank you. I wanted to do that next month. Okay, that's it.
Any questions?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. Any questions about the standards?
Thank you for your work.
Thanks. Thanks for your encouragement, Commissioner Fagan. And thanks to our committee for putting these together, especially my co-chair, Commissioner Maddox. Well, we will plan to vote on this next month. So if you want to bring any additions, deletions, comments, come to our next community relations committee and we'll make space for that. But if not, we will vote on this next month. Thank you.
Is there anything else from commissioners? Seeing none, I'll make the motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second, motion. Oh, please adjourn this thing. Yeah.
All in favor?
I motion.
Aye.